Today I'm making stuffed peppers the way my mum used to make stuffed peppers. You might be thinking that the stuffed peppers are stuffed peppers. The truth is that the older generation used to make them differently, and they used to take their time. They didn't used to cut corners, and the result was that they tasted a lot better compared to the ones we make today, where we are always in a hurry. Yes, the current lifestyle is very fast and lots of people are always in a hurry. But the reality is that good and healthy food takes time to cook. And that's what I like to do. I like to stick to those traditional principles which ensure that food is genuine and it tastes well, and often you have to invest a little time. A few weeks ago, when I proposed this recipe, I did say to you that I was going to talk to you a little bit more about my mum. So, my mum married very young, and she was just before her 20th birthday before she got married. And by the age of 29, she had 6 children already, and I am number 5, by the way. Can you imagine the level of responsibilities in bringing up 6 children by the age of 29? I always remember my mum being the very first one up. She would get up at 5:30 in the morning, and she would cook lunch. She would also get the evening meal ready, and then she would make sure that washing was done, and she would often do the ironing first thing in the morning. And then by the time 9 o'clock came, we would all go to school, and she would go alongside my dad to the shop. They had a shop selling electrical goods, and she would work until 1 o'clock, come back home, make sure that lunch was cooked, do the washing up, do some cleaning, and then off she goes in the afternoon, maybe a 20 minutes rest if she was lucky, to do the afternoon shift. And then in the evening she would come home at 8 o'clock, get dinner ready, and then if she was lucky she would be in bed maybe by 10 or 11 o'clock. That was really tough, and it's not until you grow up and you have children yourself that you realize the amount of sacrifices that your parents would have made for you. In my case, I can only obviously see through my lenses, my mum made enormous sacrifices. Why am I telling that to you? Because even so, she still managed to make absolutely delicious meals. She never used to cut corners. She always used to take her time to ensure that the food that we would eat was genuine, was cooked with love and cooked well. And this is the sort of thing that she would have prepared. She would have taken her time, and even if that meant getting up early, she would do that because to her was really important, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. Unfortunately, over the last 3 years, my mum has developed dementia. I mentioned this in a different video the other day, and I am aware that there is a part of my mum which is no longer there. However, the irony is that since she has developed dementia, she has relaxed. She couldn't relax before. It was in her wiring that she had to constantly do things for us. Since she was a young woman, she has always worked, so she didn't know any different. Whereas actually what the dementia seems to have done, seems to have given her almost a permission to relax. And it is nice to see that she's no longer always cooking and cleaning, and she allows other people to do that. And she seems to be very, very happy with herself. She smiles a lot, and she is with it in terms of understanding who everybody is, and she understands everything really. And actually, if you were to speak to my mum, you would not know any different. It's only obviously when she forgets things from 1 minute to the next. So actually, that has brought her peace, and I think it's very ironic in that context, and that actually gives me peace as well. So now that you know a little bit more about my mum, you will appreciate why I cook the way I cook, and why I take my time, and more importantly, why I think it's so important for me to explain you the various steps, so that you can hopefully replicate recipes and end up with a genuine and a good tasting food. The smoke seems to be taking over. I'll turn this down and I'll tell you what I've done so far. So you see me chopping a large onion, red, white, it doesn't matter, and also a couple of cloves of garlic. And I've done them very, very finely, by the way, and I started them with some olive oil. After 3 minutes, I've added a some mince. This is a combination of beef and pork mince. You can use either, just pork or just beef, entirely up to you. This combination is a good balance between flavour and texture, but that is what my mum used to use, so I'm replicating a recipe as I said I would. Also, I've added some tomato puree, very optional, only a small heaped teaspoon, no more than that. That will give a little bit of sweetness and also some colour, and it's very, very nice. And then you see me pouring in half a glass of white wine, and that is where I'm at the moment. The alcohol from the wine has evaporated, and this has been cooking for about 12 minutes now, so I can turn it off and I will leave it to cool down, and I'll get on with the preparation of the other ingredients. And although the older generation used to spend considerably longer in the kitchen than what we do these days, the food that they used to cook used to be considerably simpler, only a few ingredients. And also, especially in Sicily, they used to always eat whatever the land used to produce at the time of the year. So stuffed peppers used to be very much a summer dish, because that's when that's when peppers grow. I've got a plant here actually, which I thought I'll show you, and it's a pepper plant, and Julie has been caring for it with lots of love, and has got a little pepper there, in case you are wondering what a pepper plant looks like. And as you might have only seen peppers in supermarket shelves, and they would cook whatever the land produced at the time of the year. So from that point of view, we're actually very, very lucky, because modern way of growing food means that we can access it any time of the year. So you can buy peppers and eggplants and stuff that generally was only available in the summer, any time of the year. So that actually gives us a little bit of an edge. So the next job is to find out how many I'm going to be able to stuff with the little I'm making, because I'm only cooking for Julie and I don't like to waste food, as you will know. So I will attempt to do 3, and I've got these 2 here which are from the supermarket, and this little one, I've got actually more than one, but I think I'll try with one, I might do the other one. There are a couple of peppers which Diane, my mother-in-law, sent over. She has grown them herself, and as they looked different, I thought that I will try and stuff those also to see what they're like. So the first job to do is to remove the cap, like I've just done, and also remove as many seeds as possible. And if you look inside, there is this white pith. I tend to use a spoon, and it's very effectively, because actually you can just scoop it out without damaging the pepper. So that is a very, very, very good way of doing it. Look, oops, it's fallen off, but there it goes. Very, very clean, as you can see. So I'll have a look at this one to see what they look like, and then I'll finish the job. And there it is. It's a white core there, and that can come off. I'll just remove it, and actually this is almost seedless, so I think that'll do. The next ingredient would be cheese, and actually this is one of the more important ingredients in this recipe, because it will act as a glue agent. I'll explain a little bit more in a moment. And they would have used either Parmigiano, which is what I've got here today, or Pecorino. So one of those 2 cheeses would have been definitely used for this recipe, and the other cheese would have been whatever they had in the fridge. So it could have been mozzarella, it could have been provolone, it could have been primo sale, a very typical Sicilian cheese. One thing I can guarantee you is that they would have not gone out to the shop specifically to buy a type of cheese because they were making stuffed peppers. And the mozzarella or primo sale would have been one of the leading choices, because it would have been economic but also very flavorful. So today I will be using a combination of clearly my Parmigiano, and this is a bowl of fresh mozzarella, and I'm chopping it in little cubes so that it will fit inside my peppers quite nicely, and I can go in with my Parmigiano. In the meantime, my mince has cooled down, and I'm now adding it to my cheese, and you will have spotted that I'm not adding any breadcrumbs. The older generation didn't used to use breadcrumbs, or indeed they didn't used to break an egg in either, because the cheese would be the glue agent. So the bread is something that they would eat afterwards with the juices. I'll show you that later. But what they would use is hard-boiled eggs. So you might have seen me boiling them earlier. So here they are. They have cooled down slightly. So I'm now ready actually to start putting them together. But before I do that, I'll add a little salt, as I've not salted anything yet. and also some pepper. So you can do this during the cooking process if you like, or now. I prefer to do it now because I think they both release more flavor. Of course, if you like, you can also chop the eggs and put them in chopped. Entirely up to you. The difference being that if you've got children and you put the egg whole like this, they like it when they cut in, because you can see the egg yolk all cooked, which is quite good to look at. So I put a little of my mixture at the bottom, the egg goes in next, and now I'm going to be completing the filling of my pepper by applying some of the stuffing on the sides like this, making sure that I push it quite well so that it's nice and compact, and I'll apply a little bit more on the top, just like this. And here is the little cap. I'll put it here, and this is ready for the next step. So I'll fill the others, and then I'll show you what to do to cook them. I had enough stuffing for a fourth one, and I've gone for orange. So I've got a diversity of color, a bit like my knife. If you take a look, they are multicolors. So the next job is to cook them, and I'm gonna do them on the hob, by the way, but you can also put them in the oven if you want, but on the hob they will release a little bit more flavor. So before I start though, I will get a little olive oil and I'll place it on top of my stuffed pepper, and using my hands I'll just make sure that the entire surface of each pepper is got a little bit of olive oil. If you want to do them in the oven, 180 degrees for about 45 minutes, but give it a shot because you will see that they will be a little bit more flavorful. So my temperature is up high at the moment, and the first thing I want to do is to sizzle this part here, and I will remove the cap. Don't let the cap distract you, by the way, it's only cosmetic. And I'll turn them this way down until I get a nice little crust that will seal my stuffed pepper. So I'll do that with all of them, and the caps, they can go alongside as this. And you will have spotted that I'm using exactly the same pan as before. I didn't wash it, no need, because it's got a lovely flavour underneath from my mince. And if you look, this is what I've got here, a lovely crust, and I can turn them around on the side. Beautiful, look at this, including the little one. Let's have a look at the little one. And that is absolutely perfect. So next job is to start cooking them. Now my pan is a little bit shallow, but it doesn't matter. I'll put the lid on and it will go down in a minute. And I'll turn this down onto medium, and I will leave them to gently cook in their own steam. Altogether it's going to be about 40 minutes, but every so often I'll turn them around until all of the sides are lovely and brown, and I will show you halfway what they look like, and at the end what they look like, and you will see what I mean. I've pinched a better lid from one of the other pots which has got the curved top so that it closes perfectly. So let me show you what they look like now, and they've been sizzling away for about 5 minutes, and as I mentioned before, I'll start turning them around. Can you see? That is what you want, so that they will look the same color and they will cook throughout. So I'll do that for all of them. The little one will have to be helped by the side of my pot like this, and the lid goes back on, and that will give me that steam effect I'm looking for. So I'll carry on like that until all of the sides are cooked, they're lovely and soft. As I said, it'll take about 45 minutes from the beginning, so I'll see you then. And actually mine only needed about 35 minutes, they're a little bit smaller. So you'll have to judge it based on the size of the peppers you're cooking. As an indication though, get a knife and go through, and if it is cooked, you can obviously see it, but it's going through nicely, then you can turn them off. Now they're very, very hot, so let me show you a little tip, because this is a typical dish that you need to eat by mopping up the juices. So I have turned them, by the way, upright for the last 10 minutes so that they set. And the next thing is a little tip again, and I'll show you. Get a spoon so that you don't ruin it, and get all of the lovely liquid out onto your pan. Can you see that there is stuff coming out? Actually, what I'll do to ensure that it doesn't evaporate, I'll remove it from the heat altogether. So I'll show you with this one. I'll pick it up and I'll turn it around, and look, all of the lovely juice coming out. Perfect. So I'll do that with all of them, and then I will leave them to rest for about 10 minutes, and then we can cut through one and I'll show you what they look like. So now that they've cooled down, it's a little bit easier for me to handle them without burning myself, and as they are very soft, obviously you can push down and they will not fall over, and I'll move them onto a plate like this. And assuming you've got different colors like I have, you can spot which cup is which. And again, with the cup is also easier because they are cooked, and you can press it down and it will sit there nicely, and it will look quite elegant when you go at the table. So a little tip there, do not worry about cooking them with the cups. It's going to drive you mad if you try. And that's the last one. And I've cut a couple in half and left a couple whole so that you can see what they look like with the egg in the middle. And that little oil which I was referring to earlier can go on top. My mum used to put them whole on the dish, and then we would have fun in cutting them in half and finding the egg. And so you got an idea on how you might want to serve them. Also, if you leave them to cool down completely and you place them in the fridge, they will really set, and the following day you can use a normal bread knife and slice them, and you will find that they will look even nicer, especially with the egg in the middle, because you can have them as slices, about a centimeter in thickness. I'll take a picture and then I'll taste some, and I'll let you know what it tastes like, but they smell absolutely delicious. And bear in mind that there are no breadcrumbs in these stuffed peppers. The only way you can eat them is with bread, and I've got here some rustic bread, and that used to always be the norm, bread at the table. You will find that bread at the table is always a constant in all Sicilian families, even today, of course. So we've got some nice rustic bread, and let's tuck in. I'll go for this red one, as he's been looking at me for a little while. So the bread is going to be what mop up my lovely juices. This is really Sicilian, by the way. It's called scarpetta, by the way, mopping up juices from your plate, which means a little shoe, because it scoops the juices. So scarpetta, little shoe. Well, let's try. Big, as usual. I'm sorry. It's divine, absolutely delicious, just like what my mum used to make. And what I didn't put in, by the way, mostly because I forgot, is basil and or parsley, which I should have done when I was mixing everything together. But they're still very delicious. If you were to make, add some herbs, but even without them, they are beautiful. Or rosemary. Rosemary would go very well. So make them and let me know what you think. Genuinely, they are so much more delicious than anything else that you will have tried in terms of the very quick recipes. It takes time because you have to turn them around and so on, but it's part of the joy of cooking. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Ciao, ciao.